Morning, everyone. Cheers. Cheers. Oh, the right part of my...
Good morning.
I am having Red Zinger from Celestial Seasonings.
I'm having Mother's Little Helper from David's Tea.
Helen is trying to stem the panic.
It's supposed to calm the stressed out mother.
I added some more hot water, heated up a little bit.
Oh, okay.
It's good temperature now. Okay, so yesterday we died.
Hi, everybody. We're the Crafty Toads.
Morning, everyone, and welcome to Toad TV. I am Mary Beth.
Hi, I'm Helen.
And we are the creative hands and minds behind Toad Hollow, where we dye yarn and make bags. And obviously...
And we're professional podcasters.
Jump right into the thing. Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay, so yesterday, dyed a bunch of yarn. Did a bunch of Hope Springs and Snow White, and the last three dwarves are done. So everything is drying downstairs, and we hope to be getting out.
Idaho kits are gonna start shipping today,
Yep.
and then Monday,
and hopefully, we're gonna get a whole bunch out today and then Monday. So that's the plan.
Yes, we do want to say we're gonna send emails and everything because we are starting to get questions. We got an unprecedented amount of orders from Maryland Sheep and Wool, and then also the week before that for the Hi-Ho shawl kits. So we are working through all the orders. We hope that most of them are going to ship out by the end of next week. And then if for those that are still open, we will send updates after that. We will probably start sending partial orders so that the yarn goes out. The bags may take a little bit longer, but we appreciate everybody's patience.
And we are...
And we're so grateful about the number of orders.
Oh my God, yes. And we are sewing our fingers to the bone. I'm going to come in at the end of next week and just show you in
With little stumps. We'll have our little stumps.
Our bloody little stumps. Helen's already sewed her finger once. There comes a time, last night Helen was going through orders, and there just comes a time where you say, okay, it's 9 o'clock at night, and you need to stop. Because not only are you stressing out, you're stressing the entire household out. The cats are walking by. You know the Halloween cats where their backs are all hunched and everything. And it's just, okay, now's the time to stop. Because now we're going to start making mistakes and that kind of thing.
You always have to just stop yourself and say, like, hey, you've reached the point where it's just going to go so much faster in the morning.
Oh, yes. And then you started this morning and whipped through.
Right.
So that it's just, and as I said to her, by tomorrow morning, one of us will have this great idea that's going to go against everything else that we've planned so far. So that time to stop and just, have some dinner and, go to bed. Because going to bed sometimes is the best thing. All right, so...
Mother's Little Helper. And I didn't go for the alcoholic version.
It is, it's going to start looking better because yesterday was a dye day, which meant that we didn't get anything done that we could actually pack up and send out because we have to let it dry. Now we can start packing up the stuff that's dried up so that you're going to see a whole bunch go out at once, and it's going to be a lot better.
Right.
All right, so we got some questions yesterday.
We did, yes. I'm the question person today.
Yes.
Sorry, I'm
very bad at this.
Trying to remember where I put them. Okay, Rena Hanlon wanted to know, do we ever brew loose tea? She went to Knit Along a couple of years ago, and one of the prizes was a variety pack of Plum Deluxe loose teas, and she's been hooked on them ever since. She's another favorite is Harney & Sons Chocolate Mint, which comes looser in the bag, and she gets it on Amazon. So, yes, we do. My Mother's Little Helper is David's loose tea. So we get loose tea from David's. Sometimes we get loose teas when we find a tea shop.
Right. We found a great one down in Smithfield. It was...
Smithville.
Smithville. It was all Alice in Wonderland.
Right.
Was it
And then-
Wonderland teas?
Yeah, and now they're gone.
And now they're gone.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, they weren't there the last time we went, but they had some great teas. They had one called the Jersey Devil that was really good.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, when we find a little tea shop and we see something, we're starting to recognize what we really, really like. Like if I see something that's got cranberry and hibiscus or citrus and hibiscus, I know
Yeah.
there's a pretty good chance I'm gonna like it. So I'll try it.
Lots of you for our bird food issue suggested Chewy.com, and we use Chewy for the other pets.
The furry ones.
Yeah, and that's a good idea. We have to check their pricing as far as the bird food is concerned, and see if maybe we can tack it on to the most recent order because Chewy is 2 to 3 weeks out right now. Some other people have suggested Target and Walmart pickup. We have to double check them now. When this thing first happened, are any kind of pickup or shop, like the ShopRite pickup, curbside pickup, or the ShopRite delivery service, they're just not even offering them anymore. That's how far behind they are. So that, and Walmart and Target were the same way. They couldn't meet the demand. So we have to check and see if the things have loosened up a little bit. Karen Doran Libby wants to know who the Black Beauty sitting with us was. That took
That
us a
was me.
moment
Thank you
because
so
we really
much.
don't
Refer to her as a
refer
Black
to
Beauty.
as a beauty, but that was Tabitha Stanley.
She is one of our cats.
Karen Spurzel says the Cardinals will be in heaven with the sunflower seeds, and do we have a Southern States nearby? She bought birdseed yesterday at Southern States, and they had lots of variety. We're gonna say no because we've never heard of Southern States. What is Southern States, Karen? And Christy Stewart says, speaking of the raspberry zinger tea, it reminded me of her wonderful mother-in-law. She used to drink her raspberry zinger tea iced, and it's really good that way. We were just talking about that yesterday. That we should try some of our teas iced because Meredith and I don't drink nearly enough water, and that's a good way to get water in us.
Right. Also, we have to figure out sun tea.
Yeah.
We were talking about trying to figure out sun tea.
Mandy of Mary Mag, this made me laugh. She said that it sounds like your backyard sounds like her backyard, except for, and then in parentheses, did you say seals? No, we have to enunciate sometimes. We said seagulls, the birds. Not seals.
However, if
There
we
are
cross the
seals,
street,
yeah.
sometimes seals do come up on shore. Not very often.
Right, and they're more bay here.
Yes. Also, they may come up closer to the end of the island because they'll come around the bay and then go up like in Barnegat Light or...
Yeah, it's wilder up on
Yeah.
the north end of the island.
and not nearly as many people. Down here in Beach Haven, we get a lot of people on the beaches.
Yeah.
So the seals tend to stay away. But they're over on the bayside a lot.
And during the winter, sometimes the boatyards,
The marinas.
and the marinas find them sleeping in the boats that are docked for winter. So, and then finally, because this leads into our discussion for today, I'm going to totally butcher your name, Ol Marigold. I apologize. She says, thank you for your daily podcast. She enjoys them so much. She's a new viewer and have viewed only the most recent, so I'm sorry if you've already mentioned this, but are Spike and Drusilla named after the characters in Buffy the Vampire Slayer? And I did answer you directly, but we will answer this one again.
As a matter of fact, they are.
Yes.
We got them. They looked like little black golden retriever puppies. They were so cute.
They were so fluffy.
And we decided that the best thing to name them was to name them after vampires. Because that's the way our minds work.
Their given names were Daisy and Diego, which we knew were not going to suit us. And we were trying to come up with couples, famous couples. We were doing some Shakespearean couples and that kind of thing. And we just landed on Spike and Drusilla.
Spike and Drusilla.
And when we took them in to get fixed at the vet, they were telling us it was so funny because there were two brother-sister duos that were getting neutered that weekend. And there was Wendy and Tinkerbell?
No, Peter and Wendy.
Peter and Wendy and Spike and Drusilla.
And we're like, we are not Peter and Wendy people. Give me my vampires. So what we thought we'd do today is talk about some of our cats and pets coming up through the years, and their names and where we got them, because we have always been a family, mostly cats. We've almost always... I don't think there was really any time growing up where there wasn't at least one cat wandering around. We did get dogs kind of later, and then... so we did have cats. We always had cats growing up. I remember when I was really little, we had Figaro and Cicero and Frost. Pretty sure Cicero was named by my dad because he was going through law school at the time where he had just gotten out.
My dad was a thinker.
Yes.
He was very...
we would be talking about the books that we read for light reading.
Yeah, we were reading Maeve Binchy.
Or Nora Roberts.
Dick Francis.
Thomas Aquinas was what he was reading for fun.
You'd sit down, it's like, so I just read this book. Oh, I'm finishing up Thomas Aquinas. And he wasn't being snotty or funny. It's just, that was Dad.
That was what he read. Figaro was named because both my parents are opera buffs, and we can go into that at a different podcast because they really loved the opera. And Frost was David Frost because they both, and my mom really liked David Frost. So that was that. I know we had a Hamilton. He was one of the many orange male cats. We had Orphe. That was Orpheus. Again, thinkers.
And then Betsy was
one of her puppies.
Was Orpheus's puppies.
And that was the year that they had them in 1776. And
we named them all after the bicentennial.
Right. And then there was, I think it was Betsy's puppies that we named after characters from The Lord of the Rings, because I had just finished reading The Lord of the Rings. So we had Sam and Frodo and that sort of thing.
And then there was the time we went to Sunday school, and my parents sent us to Sunday school. They did not go with us. So we came home with a cat one time.
Right.
And we named him Levi because we had been learning about Joseph. And so we named him Levi. Levi shortly thereafter gave birth to several kittens.
That I'm pretty sure we named after the Outsiders.
We named
right?
after the Outsiders because I got to keep Soda Pop.
Right.
And then that was it growing up, right?
There were some cats that there was Harry. My brother found her when he was a sophomore or junior in high school.
Found her in the parking lot of McDonald's, right?
No, they found her in an alley. He was with friends. They found her in an alley, and somebody was throwing stones at her, so they rescued her and named her Harry. And then we found out that she was a girl.
She was a Harriet.
She was a Harriet, but they gave her McDonald's fries on the way home, and
cat, we fixed her when we neutered her.
Well, that's when we started calling her Harry Hyde, because she changed. She was the sweetest cat. She was a calico, and she was just such.
She was like a China cat.
I mean, she would sleep on my bed every day. She was just such a lovely, lovely cat. And she would carry around. We had this barrel on the second floor that we all put our dirty laundry in, and then my mom would take it down and do laundry, and she would get in there and get a sock and wander around in the middle of the night screaming around the sock. Tabitha does it now with her toys. But she was one of the ones that would carry around a sock and yell at night.
And then there was the time, this was right after she was fixed. She would terrorize the dog. We had Fiona at the time.
Fiona was a little Cairn Terrier.
That was my sister's dog. And all of a sudden, the kitchen door flew open, and Fiona comes in with Harry riding her up, screaming. Oh,
poor Fiona. Fiona was the first dog that we had inside that stayed with us inside. Orphe and Betsy, the bigger dogs, would come in and stay in the basement at night, but they were outside dogs. But Fiona was an inside dog.
Right. And by that time, the kids were growing.
Right.
So that my mother could expend energy on something other than the 6
Right.
hellions that were running around ruining her life.
And so Fiona would sleep with my sister at night.
Yeah.
And
Fiona loved my dad.
my dad was so upset when my mother came home with her because she took my sister number 3, out to get a present.
She was going to get a new dress for her birthday.
Right. And she came home with a dog.
She came home with a puppy. And they were calling it divorce for a while.
But
My
Fiona
dad just curled up to dad.
yeah, my dad was a very quiet person, so all the cats and dogs loved him because he wasn't loud or wild or anything like that. And he was just a very, very quiet person, so that they would just come and sit next to him. Fiona wormed her way into his heart. And
Yeah, when Fiona died, that just about destroyed dad.
yeah. So there was that was Fiona. We did have some cats growing up that kind of came in and left because they didn't stay very long. But Hamilton was one that stayed for a long time. Then my cousin got kittens and gave one to her mother, who then proceeded to have kittens of her own. So my mom got one of those, and we named him Cecil. He was another orange male, and he was mine. And he was such a love. He really was. He would chase a ball down the hallway, one of the little rubber bouncing balls, and jump over people that were, because my cousin would come and lay across the hallway, and he would jump over him. And then he would curl up. I had a straw hat. He would curl up in the hat and fall asleep. Oh, and he was the one that would go into the pouch of my sweatshirt.
Yeah.
And he'd just crawl in the pouch or the hood of my sweatshirt and fall asleep when he was a kid.
And then
He got big.
Cecil just discovered food. And we would drive, come down to here to this house for the weekends, and we would bring our cats. We'd throw our cats in the car, generally just literally throw the cat in the car, no carrier or anything. And one time I was driving down, you were already down here, I guess. I don't know why I had them and you didn't. But Cecil would ride on the... Don't judge, okay? He would ride on the passenger dashboard of my car.
He liked to look out the window.
And I had to stop for gas. Cecil was a big cat. And he couldn't really make noise anymore. So he
never did. He
would
purred,
just-
but he never
really meowed. He just kind of
meowed.
opened his mouth and little squeaks would come out. And the guy was coming to fill my tank, because we live in Jersey. We don't pump our own gas. And he was so intrigued with Cecil because Cecil's sitting on the dashboard of my car looking out going, and it's just this big orange fluff thing on my dashboard with a tiny little head going.
He did. Yeah.
So the guy's like, "Is that a cat?" And I said, "Yes." I'm like, "Tell them what I wanted." And he's like, "I gotta go get Leroy." And he wouldn't fill my tank until Leroy came out to see Cecil.
Oh my god.
So,
We have a history with male orange cats that get very, very big. Because George was also a male orange cat. I was working at Catholic school, and my principal found feral kittens in her, or a feral cat in her barn. And when she went to fix her, they said she's going to have kittens. You have to wait until after the kittens are born. So she talked one of the other teachers into taking one of the cats. And they named her Jasmine. And Jasmine climbed the walls, went up into the inside of the teacher's refrigerator, got caught in the fitted sheet. The part that comes over, got caught there, nearly strangled herself. And she finally got to a point where she said, "I cannot take care of this cat. I can't do it. I have a child. I'm a single mother. I can't she wasn't a cat person anyway. So she came to me and she said, will you please, please, please take this cat? And I said, okay, fine. Because I had just lost Cecil. So I said, okay. And so she brought her in, and I'm like, okay, to begin with, it's not Jasmine.
Jasmine is having an identity crisis.
Right.
And that's why.
I said, I've always wanted Cat George, because from Bugs Bunny, I will love him and I will squeeze him and I will name him George. So that's how George came. So I used to sing George of the Jungle to him. So my mother said he was the only one that had a theme song. And George was
a love.
He was a love. He was an absolute love. So George was with me for quite a while, and I love George. George was
the one that when Spike and Drew came, he was done.
Yeah.
He did not want Spike and Drew to join the family.
However, he came around. He did.
They all
It all worked. I had Theo. Theo was a black and white cat. I was working at Smith when I was a sophomore. I worked at the library, and somebody found 2 kittens abandoned in the library, the basement of the library, and I took one home and kept him illegally in my dorm room for 2 months until I went home for the summer, and found out that he was a she. We have a history of this.
we have problems. Yeah.
Well, when they're
Sexy
kittens,
cats, yeah.
when you first get them. But I would go to. There was a preschool on the property, and I would go steal sand from their sandbox to use for a litter box. And the college never knew. I mean, I kept him quiet and clean, and he would come down and watch TV with us every now and then in the communal TV room. But Theo stayed in my room and then came home, and I found out she was a girl, but I kept her Theo.
And Theo was the one that we had our apartment in Verona.
Oh my God.
We were living in apartments that were over retail spaces, and there was just a string of apartments. One night, there's a knock on our door, and it's the lady next door, and she's like, "Do you have a black and white cat?" I'm like, "Yeah." She's like, "Yeah, he's on my bed." I'm like, "What?" She's like, "Yeah, he's on my bed." There was a hole in our closet.
No. There was the storage space.
Oh, was that what it was?
There was a storage space, but it went the entire length so that there wasn't. I mean, somebody could get in and crawl if they really wanted to, but it was it wasn't very big. So there was, you put your boxes in there and kept them in there, and then, but it connected to everybody else's.
Right. Okay.
So that when you opened yours, when she opened hers, Theo came out because he had gotten in through ours, and he went to visit.
Yeah.
So
Theo would go visit the next door neighbor.
Yeah. So Tabitha is actually Tabitha Stanley, because when we first got her, she was only about 10 days old, and we weren't sure if she was a male or a female. So we called her, we decided that if it was a girl, we wanted to name her Tabitha, and if it was a boy, we wanted to call him Stanley. So we called him Tabitha Stanley for the first couple of months until we figured out that she was female.
I still call her Tabitha Stanley.
When I get mad at her, I yell. Sort of like, you do with your kids. You use the full name. It's like, Tabitha Stanley! So that is pretty much, that is a brief history of the pets that we have had. Because there was a rabbit. Did the rabbit even have a name?
Yes.
I have no idea. The rabbit,
we had no more idea how to take care of a rabbit than, fly to the moon.
Yeah. My mother has birds.
And that was when we were when I was a kid, I had a rabbit.
But mostly it was cats. We were a cat household.
And we were cat people until
somebody came into our lives.
Yeah, until Spike and Drew arrived, and that changed everything.
Yes.
So, and Spike and Drew are licensed therapy dogs because we took them to puppy class so that we could be trained, not so much them. And the woman who was running the class said to us, "Look, if you can afford to go on with the other remaining classes and have the time, they are predisposed and perfect for therapy dogs." I mean, Spike sees people and he just rolls over on his back to his stomach rubbed. And we thought it was going to be great. we're going to take them into children's hospitals, go to the libraries where they have the reading programs where the kids who are learning to read can read to the dogs. I mean, we had grand plans until we realized that our dogs hate kids. So then we
Go
took
figure.
Yeah, we took them to the senior centers for several years.
Oh, yeah, we
would
did
go
it
every
for-
week.
6 years.
Yeah.
We did it for 6 years.
And just before we lost our minds and left our jobs and started working for ourselves.
No, we
but
were doing it after that.
just a little bit.
Yeah, but we did it through till Dad.
Yeah. Okay.
We did
Yeah.
it until my dad died, and then it was just very difficult to go
it was-
into something like that, having just lost our dad. So we kind of fell off, and
Just got busy.
yeah, because then we were really trying to get the business up and going, so that it. But yeah, so instead they come with us
Yeah.
everywhere, and there are therapy dogs, and they go and see my mom whenever we can because they make her feel very much better.
Yes.
So, and just know that if anything happens to either one of us and we wind up in the hospital, the other one will be coming in with a very, very furry baby in a baby
Yeah.
carriage, because,
Or, my therapy dog.
right,
So,
best therapy ever.
right.
Seeing that happy face coming at you. Okay. Have a great day, everybody.
Yes.
We are going to pack up these orders to get them in the mail this afternoon. We are going to be working on bags today. It's a
making
bag day.
Yep.
So we are going to get as many of those done as we possibly can. And hello, Tabitha.
We will see everybody tomorrow.
Yes.
Have a great day, everybody.
Yeah. It's